Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Brandao, the chair of the New Jersey MBA Women's Committee, and today I am joined by the wonderful Nikkie Haley. She is a loan consultant at Loan Depot, and today she is going to share with us her how and her why. First off, Nikkie, we want to thank you so much for being a member of the New Jersey MBA's Women's Committee, and we want to hear a little bit about you. So our first question is, how did you come in to the mortgage industry?
Well, thank you for having me, Laura. I really am excited about this opportunity. And of course, I would love to share my crazy story with you. So, all the way back to my original days, I was still going to school at Drexel University online for communications, and I was looking for marketing jobs in the Philadelphia metro area. This one particular day, I got totally frustrated, and I think I went on Indeed and applied for almost everything that had marketing involved. It was insane. I probably shouldn't tell this story. That's how crazy it is. So I'm applying, sending my resume, all of that. Maybe about 3 or 4 days later, I get a call from this lady from a mortgage company, and she tells me, what company she's from and who she is and all of that. And I don't remember applying. So I immediately go to the listing and I'm looking in Indeed and I'm looking it up and I find it. And as she's talking to me and she's explaining the position for the marketing coordinator and all of that, I'm literally reading the job description and shaking my head like, oh, okay, I can do that. Email marketing, okay, I can do that. And literally, because I totally forgot. Long story short, her and I pretty much meshed well. We had 14 days for the actual interview. She scheduled me 2 weeks out. I had just started learning how to code like websites, HTML, CSS, all of that. And there was samples of my work needed when I went to the interview. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So what did I do? I went on codeacademy.com. I went on YouTube and I brushed up on my coding skills. I was literally falling asleep on my laptop, watching coding videos and practicing because I had to learn it. I needed this job. I needed to break into marketing on a corporate level. Prior to that, I had only done it on a freelance level. I did well freelance because I did websites and social media for people across the country before you can even pay for a Facebook ad. So it definitely helped me get the job, but I had to show samples of this work. So I learned how to code within a 2-week period. When I went to the interview, I had samples of all my work. I walk into the interview and there's 3 people looking at me and they don't really know what to say. So I simply say, I'll tell you guys a little bit about me. And I started telling them about my kids and, my education at Drexel and the fact that I'm a mom of twins and all that good stuff. And it just kind of broke the ice. The interview ended up going really well. We went through everything. And believe it or not, I didn't actually get hired until about, I want to say 2 months later, 2.5 months, because it was right after Christmas. But I stayed persistent. I was like, you know what? This job seems really cool. I knew nothing about the industry at all. Once I got hired in our first meeting, my first marketing meeting, I had to Google what an MLO was.
Google is our friend, right?
Yes, and they're using all these acronyms, Laura,
Yeah.
and I never heard them before. I'm totally green at that point. So I was like, oh my God, mortgage loan originator. I had no idea that that's what I would be doing fast forward years later. So it's one of those things that I stumbled upon. I came from more of the hair and beauty industry. So even moving into marketing, those were the type of jobs I was looking for initially. But when I moved down from New York back to this area, South Jersey, I just wanted to break into the field of marketing, like honestly, on that corporate level. So it didn't matter that it was mortgages. And like I said, who would have thought all these years later I would have made that full transition into being an actual loan officer? So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. I have to tell you, number one, I love hearing people's stories because they're always so interesting. And we always, by accident, came into this industry. But I have a theory. I have a theory that we actually were selected for this industry. Like I almost feel like somehow there's like this universal pull that like draws us into it because it is unique. It is very fast paced. It is very emotional. And I say emotional because we are dealing with people's biggest purchases of their lives. It's the roof over their head and their family. So like everything that's emotional to them is tied into what we do with them. So it takes a certain person that can handle the kind of the ups and the downs and the emotion and the cycles and the complexity of our industry. And I love the fact that I know the rest of your story is that there was a downturn in the market and someone said to you, well, if you always want to survive any market, become a licensed loan originator. So you did that, right?
Absolutely. It is the best piece of advice another woman could have given me in this industry at a time that being a loan originator wasn't even on my radar. Like it wasn't on my radar. I'm like, I'm the social media girl. Like I like the marketing. I like building out CRM systems and marrying systems together. Like that was my expertise. Like Salesforce probably would have been a great company for me if I stayed in marketing. But when I thought about what she said, when the time came, I was with a smaller company and I was just supporting a branch in Cherry Hill just for their marketing. And I ended up getting laid off. And it was just like, wow. I scrolled back in my brain to what she said that day in my office. And I was like, I'm going to go ahead and study for the test. And I told no one. Like my husband knew, my best friend knew. Like that was it. Because I knew how many times, being that I did work with other companies and dealt with the recruiting side and people new to the industry, that it wasn't going to be easy. It's one of those exams you really have to study for. You really have to learn those laws and all those details in between. So I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to jinx myself. And I finally studied. I was working part-time at another branch at the time. And that's when I did it. I just knocked out my 20 hours and I went and took my test. Now, here's the even crazier part. This is why I love this industry like you. Everyone has a crazy story. So I went and took the test. I arrived at the testing facility. The lady who checks me in says to me, as you go through, don't change any of your questions. It's the biggest mistake that most people make.
Oh,
Do
they
not
second
change the
guess.
questions.
They second guess
She said,
themselves.
she said, just submit it the way it is. Okay, so I go in, I take the test. You know, the environment is super sterile. It's very like kind of tense when you walk in. So I'm sitting there, I'm tense. I go through my test. Before I hit submit, I went back and changed the answer to 3 questions. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. I ended up missing the actual test by 1 question.
Oh no.
I was so upset, Laura, because we have to wait the 30 days
Yes.
before we could take it again. I took the test in Blackwood, okay? And I don't know how familiar you are with South Jersey off of the Pikes, but I call myself a Pike girl. I grew up off of the White Horse Pike and the Black Horse Pike. I'm a Pike girl. So I literally cried down the Black Horse Pike because I could not believe I even second guessed myself and changed that answer. But when I went back the second time, I said, I don't have a choice. I have to be prepared.
Yeah.
I signed up for CompuCram and I took that test over and over and over again. And one of my coworkers said, when you start to score 95 and above repeatedly, that's when you schedule your test.
Okay.
So I kept taking it. I went through each section, then I went through the full thing, took the test, finally started scoring 95, 98, 99. I said, okay, schedule the test. So this is the second time. I walk in, I check everything in, I sit down, I literally get comfortable because now I'm used to the environment.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning to the side, I put my foot in the chair, like I got really comfortable. I go through, I answer my questions, I get to the end. It's like, are you ready to submit? I'm like, sure. They're like, are you sure? Submit.
Ready.
And I literally sat there. I didn't care what the score was. All I saw was pass. and I jumped up and I forgot other
Oh,
people were testing. And I was like, oops, because I totally forgot they were testing, but I was so excited. And I ran out and the lady says to me, you forgot to do this survey at the end. I was like, you guys did great. You guys are awesome.
you are amazing.
Perfectly awesome. So yeah, I had to, I couldn't believe, because at the same time I was always very smart in school, like very high test scores, things like that. So
A good tester.
yeah, good tester. So when I missed it by one question, I
Yeah.
was literally devastated. And it became my mission that no matter what, I was going to pass that test. And I
Oh,
did. Now we're here.
I love that story. And
Thank
what
you.
a testament of how many times do we second guess ourselves to the fact
Yes.
that we don't trust, right? And we're thinking our mind kind of takes over and tells us, no, maybe not. And we start to
Hmm.
overthink it. So I love that as a lesson. And I also want to go back to something you said, and this is a similarity that I've heard in other people too. You you did something that most women don't do. That there's a study that says that most women, if they're applying for a job, they make sure that they meet almost all of the requirements for the job, where men will look at that and they will say, I've got about half of those, or I've got about
Hmm.
60%, I'm good. But you said, I'm getting a job, I'm getting into corporate marketing, and I'm doing this and no one is going to stop me. So I'm going to apply to all of these different roles and
Hmm.
get a job. So that right there, your determination, and it didn't stop. You then
Yeah.
you did the work to learn what you needed to do to have a portfolio to be able to share, and then you followed up. You stayed with them, because how many times do people say, oh, nobody responded to me, or something didn't happen, so they must not be interested? No, maybe it's the holidays. Maybe they're
Hmm.
in the middle of a transition that's happening at their company. Maybe they're
Yes.
just going through other interviews. That doesn't mean that they're not interested. So have confidence in yourself and put
Yes.
yourself out there until they've closed the door and said no. Well, you still have an opportunity there. So
Absolutely.
keep going. I love
Yes.
it. Love,
Yes.
love, love
Thank
it.
you.
Great lessons there. Okay.
Thank you.
So now my next question is our why question.
Okay.
So, you know, we are very passionate at the New Jersey MBA Women's Committee because we just love the women of our tri-state area, and our group is growing, in leaps and bounds, and we certainly want to continue to welcome other women to join us. But I always like to know, why was it important for you to join the Women's Committee? Because I always like to hear what you're looking for and what you gain by being part of our organization. Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. A huge part of my why is just that, being a woman. We're in a male dominated industry. And I'm loving seeing women making strides in the industry. So the same way with, how I got into marketing on the corporate side, when I made this transition, the first thing I said is, okay, I know how to market myself, but now I have to learn how to be a loan officer. And once I got that kind of under my belt, I transitioned to Loan Depot and all of that. The next step was to really surround myself with like minded women. I think it's so important because our experiences are totally different. I have gotten a lot of support, of course, from my male colleagues and all of
Of
that. But the
course.
reason why I wanted to join this committee is because I really wanted to be part of something that made a difference, not only for myself, but for the young women that come behind me. I think, again, our experiences as mothers, as wives, different things that we deal with, even on the medical side. Recently, I had a bout with breast cancer myself and I worked through it and all of that. So I think having that sisterhood and having someone that you could connect with that has a similar experience that might be able to give you that one piece of something you may not be able to get from your male colleagues. They may not be able to talk to you about, postpartum depression and getting back
Yeah.
to work, or, surviving some sort of, cancer or something like that. And not saying cancer doesn't happen to men, because breast cancer does, but we know the numbers are definitely higher when it comes to women being diagnosed. So for me, it was important after experiencing that to no longer kind of have that feeling of being on an island by myself. Not that my male colleagues make me feel that way, but just not having that female camaraderie. It is a little bit different. And it was
It is.
important to me, yes, to just kind of make that connection. And I'm excited because, like you said, there's women in the committee from all over the state, different companies and things like that. And I'm definitely a sponge. So I intend on learning a little bit from each one of them, as well as giving back to each one.
Absolutely. And it's so important. And like you said, listen, we love the men that helped us get to where we are, that support us, that we work with. But there is another component of us. You said it. You said part of who I am is I'm a woman. That's exactly right. That is undeniable. That is a big portion of who we are, and how we think and how we feel and how we process the information and our responsibilities. We are not just a businesswoman. We have strong responsibilities to our families and to our communities and to our friends. And those components are very important to who we are. And it's all intertwined. We can't separate, oh, no, this is business Laura and this is mom Laura. It doesn't work like that. We're all one.
Not at all.
And coming together, two things. I mean, of course, I'm very proud of our group, but many years ago, when I came into the industry, because there were so few women in leadership roles, those women were very protective of their roles. They were afraid to show their woman's side, and they were also afraid to share it with others, because they felt like if they did, they potentially could lose their position, because maybe they were, quote, the only at that particular place. I'm happy to say that, listen, we still have a long road to go, but we've made huge strides. And together, you and I and the women of the committee and all the women out there that we want to welcome to join us, we make one little piece of progress every time another one of us joins. And we certainly are thankful and grateful that you have joined us, Nikkie, and we can't wait to watch you continue to blossom into who you are for the rest of your career.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to see everyone in person and take pictures and kind of, congregate and, hopefully some hugs, maybe if COVID goes away.
Let's hope our April conference, let's hope it's hugs all around. That's for sure.
Yes, that would be great, just to see everybody, especially after, COVID and everything. We're all still kind of getting back out there again. So that would be awesome. But I do appreciate just you guys having me as part of the committee. And I look forward to all of the work we can do together. Continue to make those differences.
Yes, you got it. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening in. Until next time, be well.